All right, welcome, Jessica. Thanks so much for being on our Spotlight series of the Best in Utah for Pelvic Health. And I'm excited to chat with you today and go over all these fun questions that we have. But before we start, I'm going to read a short bio for our audience here. So, Jessica Thompson is a licensed therapist and doula with a passion for supporting mothers through the emotional landscape of pregnancy, postpartum, and beyond. She specializes in perinatal mental health, helping women navigate motherhood anxiety, birth trauma, grief, and the weight of perfectionism. Whether preparing for pregnancy or healing from past experiences, she strives to create a space where mothers feel seen, supported, and empowered. Thank you so much, Jessica, for being on.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Okay, I'm excited to jump into all these questions. So tell us, what made you decide to be a mental health therapist? Like, walk us through your journey there.
Oh, do you want the short, medium, or long version?
Well, we have about 20-ish minutes, so
I'll give you the short slash medium. So I grew up in foster care and I was adopted. And so I kind of always had, social workers in my background. I was so young, I don't remember, but being told, this is kind of how I was brought to my amazing family. And then I went through some hardships, as we all do throughout childhood and stuff in teenage years. And being a teenager is hard in general. And I started going to counseling, and my therapist, her name, I remember her name so clearly, just her name was Trinity, and she was the coolest therapist ever. And I was 15 or 16, and I never knew what therapy was. Like, you know, you just, I guess back then it was taboo. Like, if you go to therapy, then something's wrong with you. Nothing was wrong with me. I was just an anxious teenager. So I saw her and she helped me with a lot of things. And I remember always made like a really big impact on my heart because she helped me so much through really some hard things when I was a teen. And then I always remember being pulled to psychology and really wanting to understand why we do what we do and why people do really bad things. That was kind of what I was interested in as a teenager. And in my senior year of high school, I had a really cool psychology teacher. And then I talked to her about like being a psychologist and all that. And I eventually wanted to become a psychiatrist. And then when I got to college, I decided I absolutely do not want to go to like med school. Like that is, I don't want to be in school until I'm 40. I mean, it's really not that long, but it would feel that long. And then I came back from serving an LDS mission and I talked to one of my neighbors, and she was a social worker. And I really loved what I experienced on my mission, really meeting a lot of different people, talking with them, supporting them, a lot of emotional support as well. And then my neighbor kind of just sat with me and was a guide. And she's like, "What do you want to do?" And I was telling her all my interests. And she says, "You should be a social worker." And that just felt really right. So that's what I did. I applied for my BSW, applied for my MSW, and everything just kind of fell like exactly how it should. And that's my story of why I became a therapist. But my specialty, that's a whole different story.
Um, you can, I mean, you're happy to share that or entwine that in as we go too of like,
Yeah.
what do you feel like makes you different, maybe like through this specialty and who's an ideal fit for you?
Oh, yeah. Oh, that's a good question. Oh, well, what I've realized is you can't be a therapist for everybody.
Mm.
And I realize I don't want to be a therapist for everybody. And that's okay. I love to give people permission, even myself. Like it's okay to therapist hop. I've been working with my personal therapist for 7 years, and it took me, I think, three previous therapists before I found her. So that's totally okay. And let's see, where do I start with this? So, with my specialty is perinatal mental health, and I work mainly with mothers. And when I'm mothers in the range of first-time moms to mothers who are in their 50s and they have adult children. So it's really a broad range. And what brought me to working with mothers is I was working at a previous clinic who specialized in perinatal mental health. And I didn't realize I would love it so much because going to that clinic, I wanted to specialize in sex therapy and couples. But when I got there, I was like, okay, couples aren't for me, but I love the sex therapy piece. And then I was really drawn to the motherhood piece, mainly because I was a first-time mom when I started working there. My oldest daughter was about a year and a half when I started working there. And I I really struggled with my postpartum with my first daughter, and I didn't have words to what I was struggling with until was working at this clinic, and it was almost like some light healed pieces of my heart that felt shattered from my postpartum experience. And I realized, oh wow, like I struggled with postpartum anxiety and depression, and I didn't have any help. I didn't know I needed help. So I took all the trainings and I read all the books I could, all the podcasts. Like I just really dove into how to help moms around, having their first child and getting to know their new self again after having even your first or seventh baby. Like it's just all a journey. So that's really what drew me towards that. And what makes me different is well, now I'm a doula, so I have this really cool different side to my perinatal mental health journey where I get to see women in these different spotlights. And it's such a beautiful, sacred piece that I get to be involved in. And so there's a lot of different perinatal therapists, but we all have our own different specialties. So I would say my specialty is really working with mothers who are in the thick of motherhood, whether you're a first-time mom or in your 50s, and getting to work through like any anxiety they're experiencing, or they feel like they lost themselves in motherhood and they want to find themselves again. A lot of moms I work with are struggling with perfectionism, and I love supporting with that. And then birth trauma. So I'm an EMDR therapist as well, and I love helping moms through birth trauma using EMDR and expressive arts, which is like writing or like getting your hands on clay or drawing, things like that.
Amazing. Amazing. Okay. Who would you kind of hit who the ideal fit is those people? What does the process look like to work with you?
Oh yeah. Typically people will email me or text me or call and say, "Hey, can we set up a consult?" So I do a 15 to 20-minute phone consult and I just get to know them a little bit and ask them what they're seeking for in regards to support. And then I'll tell them my approach to therapy and maybe some ideas of how we could support them. And I'll ask them, like, how do you feel this conversation is going? How do you feel about working with me? And if they feel like they want to move forward, then we'll schedule an appointment. And then I will do an assessment with them either online, on video, or in person. And then they can decide. I give them my feedback on frequency. So if someone's in, higher distress, then maybe weekly is going to be best for them until they can come down on from their distress. But typically everyone, I would not everyone, I would say 90% of individuals I work with meet me every other week. And then we just kind of I have an approach where it's very client led, where you bring what you want to work on to therapy, and I'm going to provide you with the best tools I can to support you in where you're at. And I hear a lot of horror stories actually about therapists, which really saddens me. I will never tell a client what to do. I'll never tell them what they're doing. Like they need to be doing something else. And obviously, if they're in any harm, I'm going to support them. But in regards to like mothering, that's just not my place. And I've heard horror stories of therapists telling, "Oh, yeah, it's just because you're a mom." Da 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 da. I'm like, that's so harmful. So I always disclaim to my clients, I will never tell you what to do. I'll never tell you how to live your life. I'm here as a kind of give this analogy where we're in a car together and you're driving and I'm the passenger and the scenery is your emotional, mental, spiritual, physical landscape. Like I'm your passenger. I'm not in charge. Like you're guiding me through this journey with you, and I'm just supporting you as a safe space. So,
Awesome.
yeah.
Cool. And then what in your lens in your work would you say like recovery looks like, whether it's that transition from not mother to mother or that postpartum transition or recovery from like needing your services? You can touch on whatever lens like really speaks to you. And what does recovery mean to you in your clinical ethos?
Yeah, it's a really good question. I like to say up front, I am not a short-term clinic. I'm a long-term clinic. And what I mean by that is there are some clinics out there who like, okay, 6 to 8 sessions, like that's all I'm going to provide and you're good. but I'm more like, this is very tailored to your own individual needs and what you've been through. So if someone has a significant trauma history, that is so harmful to say, okay, you have 6 to 8 sessions and then you're gone. That's not okay, in my opinion. That's not what I would do. There's some clinics who would, and maybe that's helpful for them. I don't know. But I'll tell clients, they'll ask me like, what is, when will I be done? And I'll say like, that's typically up to you. Like if a client feels like they're doing well, like, okay, let's graduate or maybe move to once a month for a while and then see. But typically when someone comes into my office, let's say they're struggling with a piece of motherhood, and we'll be working on that, then they'll resolve that in a way. And then typically something else comes up because we're complex human beings. So maybe something in their past from their childhood, maybe something traumatic had come up. So we'll work through that. And then maybe something in like their partnership or marriage has come up and like sexuality is becoming troublesome within motherhood. So like, you know what I'm saying? It's all intersects together and it just really depends on the person. So I don't know. I feel like with your clinic, recovery makes sense because you're physically having them recover, right, from birth or maybe some trauma or accident. But here in my clinic, I don't know. I don't use the word recovery
Yeah,
very often,
ongoing.
but it's more like a healing journey for me is like a lifelong experience and you're gonna go through waves. And so I just like to tell people like it just depends on how you're feeling. And if you feel good, then great. I trust that. And if that means you've been working with me for 3 months or 3 years, it's totally up to you. But I've been working with some individuals for about 5, 6 years, and we're still working on stuff. And they meet like 1 to 2 times a month. And yeah, I just think life keeps coming up. Like I'm not having a baby every 6 months, you know? Like I would definitely need a lot more recovery from you, but life keeps happening mentally, emotionally. So I just think it's always ongoing, but that doesn't mean someone needs to be in therapy for the rest of their lives unless they want to be.
Right. Yep. And I would say we cross both lines in ours, right? We have like we'll graduate someone when they've like
Yeah.
completed their piece, but like they often come back for like a tune-up session
Yeah.
or like, hey, I have this new thing that popped up and then do a couple sessions, or they have another
Right.
baby. And so you carry your pelvis with you your whole life. You're physical, you're active, you're doing things. It's the
Yeah.
same. Your mental health is changing, your physical is changing, your spiritual is changing. So it's good to have a pulse on all of those things all the time and never really like you never really fully recover, right? You like work on things and get into a good place, a maintenance phase maybe. But yeah, fascinating to talk about that stuff.
I know. Always love to highlight too, like we're not perfect beings,
Yes.
and imperfection, if we allow it to flow, can like make life a little bit not smoother, but easier to adjust with. And kind of same with therapy. Like some months or years, you might need a lot more help, and sometimes you don't. So it's just the different seasons of life that we're all in.
Yep, totally. Okay, next question. What is something that most people don't know that you think that they should know about your services?
Oh, this is a good question. I wish you would have prepped me on these. I would. Can you repeat it one more time so I can answer it good?
What's something that most people don't know that you think that they should know about your services?
Oh my goodness. Hmm. Something that they don't know that they should know.
Yep, that you think that they should know, or a common myth or something.
Okay, I have it. I mean, I'm going to say this in the most gentle, kindest, reassuring way. I am not a Mary Poppins. I am not a fairy godmother, and I'm not a magician. I actually have a magic wand in my office that I'll tell clients. They're all, probably one of the most common sayings that occur in my office is, can you please fix me? And I'll pull out my wand and say, you know what? If this actually worked, I would 100% without even no, like zero doubt, wave it and like make everything, that was troublesome go away for you. Like I really care about you and I want this to go away for you. But I'm not magic. I don't have all the answers. And I'm not here to fix you. I'm here to support you. And I think a lot of people approach therapy as something's wrong with me. Please fix me. But that is not my role as a therapist. And I think that it assures a lot of people I work with because it's like validating, like, oh, I'm not broken. And I just read this quote by Ernest Hemingway that he says, we're all a little broken. That's how the light gets in. I really love that. So I don't believe that we're shattered humans, but there's pieces of us that are broken, but it's not my job to patch them for you. Like I assist you with the tools to help you do it because that's a lot more empowering than having someone do it for you.
Totally. Awesome. Okay. Do you have anything special that you want to promote to the audience at all?
This is scary, but yes. Okay. So
Ooh.
aside from my mental health services, so I've been a mental health therapist for, oh my gosh, I don't know, 7, 8 years, somewhere along those lines. And I love what I do. And I've just been wanting to expand my services a little bit more in Utah and kind of worldwide. So I'm really putting myself out there. So I'm going to I'm going to begin birth consulting. So what that looks like is now that I'm a doula, I'm going to add some services where I'm a doula, but I'm not actively taking a lot of clients. Like I have 2 births this year. I'm also 5 months postpartum. So I really want to like take care of myself and my body and get the sleep that as my body's still recovering. So I'm taking births, like, really thoughtfully and mindfully. But along with my doula services, I'm going to be adding birth consulting, which is going to look like, I've had a lot of family actually reach out saying, like, I really want a peaceful birth. Like, help me get that. And so, well, they'll ask me questions like, how did you have a peaceful birth? Because I've had 2 home births and I've absolutely loved them and they will just have a million questions. And honestly, it takes a lot of time and I love answering it and all those questions. I'm so passionate about it. So something I'm going to add is, having consultations to give them resources to help them work through maybe some fears or help them expand their knowledge and help them connect to different providers in Utah or, other states. But I'm just really looking forward to connecting to more women and families to help them build their ideal birth. A training I gave last year was called Building an Intuitive Approach to Birth. And that's basically what I'm going to do is just help them connect with their intuition, build their ideal birth, and help them build an empowering postpartum experience.
Amazing. Nice job. Nice work.
Thank you.
Proud of
I'm excited.
you. That's amazing. Okay. What is the main thing that you want to be known for?
Mm. As a professional,
Sure. You can do both if you want.
human, I want to be known for embodying joy in motherhood. I really love motherhood so much while also acknowledging there's days that it sucks and it's hard and I just want to run away. But we can feel all those things and joy at the same time. Like they can coexist. So I just want to be known as the therapist and doula who witnesses you in your motherhood journey and embodies motherhood with you.
Amazing. Great. Awesome. Where can we find you? How can we find you? All the things.
Yes, so I'm on Instagram as very original, Jessica the therapist. I might need to change my handle as I'm adding more services. And then you can find me on my website as well. It's intuitively-well-therapy.com. That has a list of services for my therapy services. And then anyone who connects on Instagram, if they want to call or text, my phone number is on there. Anyone can shoot me a text or call me on my work phone if they have any questions. Or
Awesome.
email as well.
Yeah. Thank you, Jessica, for coming on. This has been a pleasure, as always, to chat with
Yeah,
you. And thank you so much.
thank you. I've loved this.